Good morning, good evening, good night, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your nighttime, right time DJ Music, and welcome to another episode of The Chop Shop. With me, as always, my good friend and my co-host, Charwillie. How you doing, Char? How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Come on in. Come on in.
Well, thank you for the hospitality. I'm doing well.
Yeah,
How are you?
yeah, I am. I am pretty hospitable. Anyway, is that a word? I just made one up.
Sounds good, though. Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty hospitable, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yes, you are.
So how was your New Year? What you keep a New Year's resolution, or did you make a New Year's resolution?
I have not. I do my stuff quarterly, so I'm always having some goals for myself. But only resolution I had was to drink that $60 bottle of champagne I bought last year and then get you to drink it.
A little sip of the bubbly. Then, all right. Wait a minute. Did I hear you say you bought it last year?
I bought it last year. It was supposed to be for last year, but I wasn't able to drink it. I wasn't prepared.
Okay. Well, in the world of the drinking community, they would call you a lightweight.
Yeah, that's me. I'm guilty.
But anyway, we of course last week we talked about the migrant crisis in your town, your state, and your state of Illinois and Chicago, in New York, of course, and a few other places around the country. Sure. Seems like it's getting worse by the minute. I think last week I think we gave a number of how many migrants came into Chicago. It seems since then it's almost double.
Ooh wee.
Yeah, and I think with that, it's a lot of things that they call crime going on.
Oh yeah, you're gonna
Oh,
get that.
yeah, crime. But folks, all I can say is the police in Chicago used to target us.
Right.
I notice I'm trying to be civil about this,
Go ahead and
but
say it.
all right, damn it, they ain't messing with us no more. They after them migrants,
Yeah, that's true.
but they running amok though. I mean, this first clip that we're going to see, Shar, it's you sent this one to me. And this is kind of what the ground level of not only black folks is experiencing in Chicago from the influx of migrants, white folks as well. And I think in this we can all find common ground. That might be some little difference in how black people think and how white people think. But I think in the city of Chicago, now you correct me if I'm wrong with this. This is not a black or white problem. This is a resident of Chicago problem. Sharp, what do you say?
I agree with that. It is a resident of Chicago problem.
All right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna pull up our first clip here, and this one particular clip. Let's see. Wait a minute. Let me pull it up here. This one has to do with the amount of crime that's going on in Chicago since the influx of migrants. And the name of this clip, the illegals. I didn't name it this now. Says the illegals is turning it up big time.
I apologize. I don't feel very well. I've got like a fever and I got my hair like the flu or something like that. But I wanted to cover this before I go home for the day because I'm going to leave early. North side of Chicago, there's a migrant shelter. Residents were charged with jumping on cars and hitting drivers with rocks and a crutch. This fella here is smiling in his mugshot. He thinks it's funny. He thinks it's funny. And the dude looks like one of these people that would come here to fight, to create chaos. You know how you can tell by looking at certain people there a specific way, or how they hold their face, their eyes, they look mean and stuff all the time, whatever it may be. Yet this guy here is smiling. So what he did was, they took him to jail because he took a big rock. Northside Migrant Shelter residents charged with jumping on cars, hitting a driver with rocks in their clutch. Chicago. Let's check in and see how things are going in Chicago. New neighbors at the city's newly opened migrant shelter at 1308 North Elston across from the salt shed. Arturo Moran, 39, is one of the Venezuelan transplants calling the shelter home, according to his recent Chicago police arrest report. Cops arrested him for misdemeanor battery after he allegedly threw a rock at a 61-year-old man's Suburban, breaking the front windshield around 10:45 a.m. on December 8th in a 1000 block of West Division. Moran threw another rock that hit the victim in the forehead when he rolled down his window to yell about the shattered windshield. The report continued. It said Moran went on to strike the victim in the back of the head with a half-broken crutch. The victim got out of his SUV and pinned Moran until the police arrived. In another case, CPD officers arrested 30-year-old Carlos Mujica Garcia around 4 p.m. on December 14th. Two officers paying the Elston Avenue shelter a courtesy visit said they saw Garcia jumping on top of a vehicle and punching windows in traffic lanes of Elston Avenue. Cops said Garcia pushed one of them into the street and then fought with both officers, who had to call for backup while telling one officer, "Te voy a matar," that means "I'm going to kill you," according to the translation provided in Garcia's arrest report. One of the officers suffered a broken hand during the struggle with Garcia. He's charged with felony aggravated battery of a peace officer, reckless conduct, and wrestling police. Judge Mariam Ahmad released him from custody the next day. According to court records, a warrant is now out for his arrest because he failed to show up for his first court date on December 21st. Go figure. We know they're not going to show up for their court dates. There's no documentation. We barely know who these people are. Angela Matrano, 21, was arrested at Macy's at 111th North State on December 16th. Store security officers allegedly saw her take a bunch of clothing into a dressing room and walk out of the store with the items concealed in a plastic bag. She was careful to wrap all of the shoplifting sensor tags with aluminum foil before she walked out the door with $712.50 worth of merchandise, according to her arrest report. Prosecutors charged her with felony retail theft. Like Garcia, she didn't attend her first date on December 22nd. The judge decided to notify her of her oversight by sending a postcard rather than issuing an arrest warrant, according to the court records. So they get special treatment. Women get special treatment. The men, they want to try to hem them up, but they just let them go. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. They have no clue what's going on. And this is the type of stuff that's happening here in the city. And a lot of it, the majority of it, we don't even get to see. We don't even know. Y'all be careful. Stay protected.
So what he's saying is, ladies and gentlemen, be careful. Sure.
Ooh-wee.
Right. Broken hands.
Yeah, he fighting the police and tell them, "I'm gonna
right
get rid of you.
I'm gonna kill you. I gotta say it. Right. I'm gonna unalive you, Mr. Policeman.
Yeah, fought him, everything, and then saying,
Everything.
he ain't show up in court. And that's why he be grinning on the mugshots. Cause he like, you gotta catch me next time.
Right, catch me next time. Once I get out the door, I'm gonna change my last name. You know, because we all look alike. But
right,
you know, another thing,
they don't have a permanent resident.
No, they don't. So so the thing about it, when he said that the judge sent out a postcard, where did he send it to? The park?
He sent it to the migrants shelter, but they move around so much because they only have so much time. So they may get 60 days here, then they have to be moved to another location. So it's just a big joke.
Right. So right, it absolutely is. It's got to be frustrating to see these people going in jail, coming out of jail, and like this one lady stealing $700 and over almost close to $800 worth of stuff from Macy's. Can you say that was she stealing was she stealing to feed herself? No, because she went in there with aluminum foil. She wasn't stealing just to get comfortable. I mean, she wasn't stealing just to say, well, I need something to eat. She went into Macy's.
Hey, she was taking care of everybody.
Right.
Yeah,
with
everybody
aluminum
outfit, and gonna sell some stuff and have something left over. Hey.
sell it for the low. So don't, but that lends credence, sure, to when folks complain about the influx of migrants and crime. That lends credence just from that. Those were just different incidents in your area that this guy was reporting on. So, like you said, just imagine the ones that get reported on and the ones that don't.
Correct. Correct. Because I'm finding more security now in just regular grocery stores. Your normal what Dixie, Pick and Pay, whatever the name of them, but they're everywhere. Used to
Right,
just
right,
see one guy and that's it. Now you're seeing several.
right. They don't. They're just not out to stick you up at the local mom and pop store anymore, folks. They even get you some of the migrants. Now, again, I got to give credit where credit's due. Some of them do come over here seeking a better life. That is true. Some of them get so enthralled in it that they open up their little private little stands, little hot dog stands. The little carts that they roll around in, the ice cream carts. But even their own people ain't safe.
Yeah.
I got a clip coming up here in just a second to show you exactly why. Their own people ain't safe. Hold on just a second there, folks. I'm going to pull it up here. Just a second. Let's see. This one here is a Chicago food vendor robbed at gunpoint. Here it is.
Ooh.
The avenue. Two men approached a 42-year-old woman, pulled out a weapon, and demanded her cash. We spoke with an eyewitness who saw it all happen.
Both guys got the gun, the huge guns, and it was really fast, scary. So the lady was crying, and it's too dangerous right now. The street in Chicago is too dangerous. So
The woman was not hurt. No one is in custody.
Now, who are they gonna catch? The woman's not hurt, but who gonna catch? And then they're speaking to another immigrant. Do you think he gonna tell me, yeah, that was him? No snitch policy works in both neighborhoods. Now, I ain't gonna tell on you. I saw what happened, but I'm not finna tell.
They probably won't even come around that area again for a while, but it's so sad. I mean, because the
Right.
woman out there, all she trying to do is feed herself.
Right. Trying to make an honest living, folks. That's exactly what she was trying to do, make an honest living. Whether you agree with the migrants being in our towns and in our cities, a lot of us don't, but you got to give credit where credit's due to some of the people who come over here and actually are productive members of society. Because all of us have been to some of these little taco stands, this taco trucks. There's some good food on there. Wouldn't you agree, Cheryl? Some good food that they serve sometimes. Honest
Pretty
living.
tasty. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's an honest living. So there's nothing wrong with that. But then you got derelicts out there like this that will rob you. So while I'm pulling up this next clip, Char, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on in Chicago, because you live there. So tell us about what you see on the ground when you do go out. Let me pull up this next clip.
Well, I will say it is true that they are not living at the police stations anymore, but they're putting them in like maybe a warehouse or former warehouse. And people are trying to sue the mayor about it because it's not a place for people to live. It's actually supposed to be a place where you have merchandise. So that's going on. Then you have the weather is changing here, and it is pretty mild for Chicago. 50s and 40s in December and January, not bad. But you do have a lot of people that are in camps because they don't want to be inside the shelters because of all the coughing, sneezing, scratching, and other things that's going on.
Right,
So
right.
they're like,
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
outside in a tent. That's where you can catch me at.
Right. I can imagine they eat beans in there too, huh?
Yeah. Lots of sounds.
Right. Not only sound, can you imagine the smells at about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning?
Okay.
But one thing you touched on there, Char, was I know for this time of year in Chicago, it's kind of unseasonably warm, right?
Yes.
But it is going to get colder.
Oh yeah. Middle of January.
Yeah, but despite them telling the migrants, do not come to Chicago because you're not prepared for this weather. Let's take a look at this next clip.
City is running out of funds to help them and space to house them. But as our Maribel Gonzalez reports tonight, they are still choosing Chicago as their landing spot in the U.S. Maribel?
Yeah, that's right, Joe. Even as temperatures drop, Chicago continues to be a hot spot for new arrivals. We spoke to someone running some of the shelters along the border who shed some light as to why this is happening.
What we're seeing is that it is fluctuating greatly from day to day.
Before asylum seekers get to Chicago, they arrive at border cities like El Paso. John Martin, who helps run a network of shelters there, is there to meet them.
A typical stay for us is typically between 2 to 3 days. We work with them to get them to their destination of choice, which varies.
Martin says migrants are choosing to go to cities all over the country, but the top destinations continue to be Denver, New York City, and Chicago.
We know it's cold here in Chicago, and it's only getting colder. Why do you believe people are still choosing Chicago as their destination?
I think the predominant issue is that whether it be, and in your case probably unintentional, is that they now have a support network within Chicago. Support network being others that have preceded them at that point.
Meaning family and friends who have come to Chicago and are now established here. The city has received over 26,000 migrants since last August. Mayor Brandon Johnson warning space is running out, and now we're learning so are the funds.
Local municipalities are not structured to be able to carry the weight of a crisis like this.
We've learned Chicago is using $95 million of COVID relief funds to foot the bill for migrant expenses instead. And now mayors across the country, including ours, are calling on the federal government to help. In El Paso, Martin and his staff inform new arrivals about conditions in destinations like Chicago, even posting this at their shelters, our daily overnight temperatures, to give them a visual of what to expect.
And then we relay to them, based upon what we've seen within the media, that there may not be shelter or any type of capacity within the community. But again, it's a decision that they make.
Now we know that these buses chartered by the state of Texas are dropping off migrants in the suburbs as a way of skirting around city protocols. The suburb of Elmhurst over the last week has received 7 buses. The mayor there telling us that everyone except a handful of the passengers were sent here to Chicago. Reporting live in the newsroom, Maribel Gonzalez, CBS 2 News.
Maribel, thank you.
You're right. Blame Mayor Johnson for this debacle, folks. Because remember in one of our earlier episodes, we don't have this problem in South Carolina. And why don't we have this problem in South Carolina? Because I'll use the word again, the forbearance of thought. That the elected officials in South Carolina knew that this was going to be a problem if they turned, say, a city like Charleston, South Carolina, or Greenville or Spartanburg into a sanctuary city. That means good old Governor Abbott would have been doing the very same thing to us that he's doing to places like Chicago and other places, especially New York. But wonder why. Sure. I'm wondering why.
Let me tell you
Of
about
all that space in Texas, all that space out there, you know, the United States is not as populated as we think it is, folks. There's a lot of places where there's they could put these migrants.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not have to send them to Chicago, not have to send them to New York. South Dakota got an ass of property out there that nobody live on.
Mm.
North Dakota got to add some property since they don't mind coming to the cold. Right?
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you though. See, we have to blame the Mayor Johnson because he got on the camera when he did get on the camera and say, "We have a crisis. We got to help everyone. It's very important. We are a sanctuary city. You can't be that way. We help everyone. I was just elected, and I promise I'm going to help everyone." So with all of that talk, this is where we are. And then also blame Frank Sinatra because he want to sing, "My Kind of Town," Chicago. And that's what the migrants heard. They're like, "I want to go to Chicago, my kind of town, Frank Sinatra."
I would imagine if they heard the other version of Frank Sinatra in New York, want to be a part of it in New York.
Yeah, and they there too. Aren't they there too? There you go.
They right there. Be careful what song you listen to. That migrants might have been listening to Chicago.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Right, very popular group. And they was like, hey, but again, it's not only your governor. From the reports that I've seen, Char, that if I had to give them a grade, I would have to give them a failing grade right now for how they're handling this crisis and how they're basically just putting these folks just in police stations, as you said, in warehouses, in parks, knowing that eventually this is going to cause some kind of health crisis. Is this going to be the next thing? Or maybe you got to wait till there's a massive crime spree to where one of the migrants go around and start killing up about 30, 40 folks. Maybe that's what they're waiting on.
Right, because you got to think these people have nothing to lose.
They got nothing to lose. At worst, they'll get deported back to their country.
You see what the one man did to the 2 police officers.
Right, one.
Yep.
And he wasn't on fentanyl. He was just hungry.
Right, just think. Okay.
Right. But again, of course, the mayor of Chicago had something to say about it. And let's listen to what the mayor of New York had to say about this migrant situation. Let me pull this up.
All right, let's see what he got to say.
Okay. And actually, he went and he wanted to talk to the president himself. He called on Joe Biden, as Trump calls him, Sleepy Joe.
Why he woke up Sleepy Joe for this?
He called us old Sleepy Joe because you heard them say now they spent about 95 million of COVID relief money to take care of the migrants. So when that money runs out, where they gonna get it from? Because the COVID relief money came from the federal government. Am I correct?
Correct.
So I guess he gonna call up old Joe right now and say, "Look, we done ran out of the COVID money. We gonna need something else." But y'all take a look. Here's what he had to say.
Lowest number of illegal border crossings in 40 years. And that's because President Trump put into place 4 policies: the Remain in Mexico policy, the Title 42 policy, the end of catch and release, and building a border wall. When Biden came in...
My fault, folks. I had 2 marked with governor, but this is the guy, Char, since it's already on there. We'll just backtrack to the governor of New York in just a minute. But this is the governor of Texas. Okay. This is the source of your problems. This guy right here.
This the private plane guy.
Yeah, this guy right here is who's sending all of these migrants by the busload, by the plane load to your cities, to New York and Chicago. Why is he sending them there? Inquiring minds might want to say, hey, don't put them next to the good old white folks. Let's send them down there in the urban areas. Call it what you want to, folks. Did this reek of racism? To me, it does. Say what you want to. You might disagree or agree, but prove me wrong so far. Because like I said, there's plenty of places the way they can in the United States as a whole that they could send the migrants to. And they could be comfortable there. Just like they went over, just like they went over to different countries during wartime and built up entire cities in a matter of days. You do the same thing. There's stretches of land to where no one's living on. Stretches of it. But let's listen to your good old governor of Texas here.
He eliminated all of those 4 policies. That said, Republicans right now in Congress are negotiating with the Biden administration with policies that would provide extraordinary relief, if not eliminate all of the illegal border crossings. They must hold fast and negotiate with the Biden administration to achieve 2 things. One is to prohibit any asylum offered to anybody that crosses between the ports of entry. The second thing is they also must eliminate any asylum for anybody who does not seek asylum from the country from which they have left or from the first safe country they arrive in. Those 2 policies would dramatically reduce any illegal immigration into the United States and actually would stop all of the visuals that you're seeing on TV about the way that people are crossing into our country illegally.
Now, Sean, what do you think about what he just said? You know, as much as I'm going to say I dislike the guy for what he's doing, but he does have a valid point. Don't you think so?
Yeah. Still don't like what he's doing, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't like what, no, let's not get it twisted. I hate what he's doing. And I hate that he's using these human beings as propaganda, as, cannon fodder. But the bottom line to it, if you look at the whole of what he just said, if you stop giving people asylum just because, then that would curtail some of the border crossings. No, you're not going to stop it, just like a lock does not stop a criminal. You're not going to stop everybody from coming to the border. But you sure can eliminate some of the folks just because they say, hey, I got arrested by the police. That is not a reason to leave your country. A lot of us would have done that already.
Right.
Now, some of them folks come to this country saying, well, we're poor. We don't have a better way of life. A lot of folks can say that here in the United States, too.
True. Very true. But it's orchestrated. I mean, it's going to be to a point where you can't even talk about this once the cover has been blown, because you remember how it was with COVID. Couldn't talk about it. Your channel and video marked as misinformation. They're going to do the same thing for this, just like they did 9/11.
You know what? And I think you're right. I got right. Sending them to the blue states, and eventually they're going to say, they're going to stop talking about it. They're going to allow you to stop talking about it. Your YouTube channel is going to get checked. But fortunately for me, YouTube folks, fortunately for us, I should say, we have other ways of broadcasting to get the word out. They can't stop that. You know what I mean? They can't stop me from speaking on my own stream on the radio station. They can't stop that.
Ha
Picture that, Uncle Sam. But there's another clip that we're going to come up. We're going to play a little bit later on, Sharda, where you were talking about. You mentioned, I know, because I know you kind of like you're one of them. Would this be a fair? I've been watching too much of this Darrell Brooks trial. Would this be fair to say that you like the conspiracy things from time to time?
Oh,
just
yes, I love it. I love it.
So we're going to have a clip that we're going to play a little bit later on that dwells into this conspiracy thing. But before we do that, let's see if we can find the clip on the New York mayor and find out exactly what he's talking about, Mr. Good old Adams there, because again, this is another one of these mayors, that seems to me They were doing all they can to help migrants, but they wasn't doing all they can to help their own people.
Right.
Fair comment, right?
Yeah, so true.
And now it's backfiring on them. Don't you think so?
Yeah, they talked about it during, when they running for the election, election time. They talked about what they do for the citizens. Now, please. Nothing.
Right. Always, you hear those things always around election time. Get me in office, and then none of them keep their promises.
Yeah.
Especially about this migrant thing. I mean, just from the people that I know and the research that I've done, Chicago and New York is just you guys are being inundated with migrants, hundreds by the day, bus load after bus load after bus load. When y'all sleeping, they coming into your towns.
Right. And this is, for the Black and brown community. It's not, they may drop them off in the suburbs, but they're escorted to the Black and brown communities.
Exactly. Picture that. And that's another question. But before we get to Mr. Adams, that's another question. Why? What is so great about our community that y'all want to bring us an influx of them folks?
Well,
what's good?
That can go in any direction. It depends on how you really want to talk about that. But we have an idea of what this is all about.
Yeah. We're gonna keep it light because this is gonna be on YouTube. But if you come to the radio station, folks, we get cranked up over there. It's no holds barred.
Right.
No holds barred. But I think y'all know where we're gonna go with this, right? All right. All right. But anyway, let's see what old the governor of New York has got to say about this.
All right.
Or the mayor of New York.
Okay.
Republican Governor Greg Abbott. In a letter obtained by CBS News, the Department of Justice said it will sue the Lone Star State if it enforces a law signed by Abbott that makes illegal immigration a state crime and allows law enforcement officials there to arrest and prosecute migrants. In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams is trying to set limits on the Texas governor's busing of migrants north. CBS's Astrid Martinez explains.
Buses are still rolling into New York City hours after U.S. officials met with Mexico's president, promising to work together to limit record migration. Leslie Hernandez and her family are from Colombia and arrived in New York City by bus. She told CBS News, "We do what we can, and we have to make sacrifices for a better future." Yesterday, New York City Mayor Eric Adams signed a new executive order to hold charter bus companies accountable.
We cannot allow buses with people needing our help to arrive without warning at any hour of day and night.
The order requires bus companies give a 32-hour notice before coming, drop off migrants at designated locations and times, or face impounding and fines. Power Malu greets migrants as they arrive and says the mayor's new executive order is causing chaos among advocacy groups.
And so what happens is we're tasked with people coming to us, asking us for services. I call this fabricated chaos.
New York City saw nearly 15,000 new arrivals this month, but it's not alone. Close to 2,000 in Chicago and 5,000 in Denver.
We have to look at dramatically reducing the amount of services we offered or dramatically cutting our city budgets.
But the Biden administration says it has provided more than $1 billion in grant funding for cities and towns hosting recently arrived migrants.
And I think the U.S. is pitching that this is a regional problem, not just a United States problem, that we need to work together on this and that there are investments that we're prepared to make.
And tonight, CBS News has learned that migrant crossings reached a record high in December. U.S. border agents took into custody more than 225,000 migrants at the southern border in the first 27 days of the month. Major?
Astrid Martinez, thank you so much.
227,000 that they've taken into custody in the last month. That's a lot of folks. Imagine all the folks coming to the country, folks. Those are the ones that they've arrested. How many has gotten here?
Right. And you know,
Those are the
I'm
ones
trying to
that-
figure out this $1 billion. So I'm still on that.
Listen, I'm wondering. Okay, now, don't make me bring up a conversation about reparations. We'll say that, but if y'all got $1 billion to give to the migrants, where's my money?
Is this $1 billion for each city? $1 billion divided by 3 cities?
No,
how
it's
is
$1 billion for each city that these migrants are going to. So that means New York, Chicago, Denver, all have gotten $1 billion from the government. Now I ask you, if we know that we heard this clip, and we just heard another clip earlier saying that they were using the COVID funds, what happened? Where the money?
Wow. Exactly. And they've been asking for money, shoot, almost on a daily basis. So,
Right, so something in the milk ain't the milk's gone bad, Murphy. The milk's gone bad.
I'm telling you, as soon as we find out whistleblowers and all of that, you can't talk about it. It's gonna be misinformation.
Right. You know, the election cycle is starting to gear up. So I'm sure this will play as a major part of what's going on who gets elected and who doesn't, whether you're red state or blue state. For me, $1 billion for folks that are just coming across the country. Why can't y'all give the United States government give $1 billion to these folks that already live there? What is this business about always wanting to cut social services for people that were born in this country? But we hear it is out of the mouth of these reporters and government officials. Heard $1 billion so far has been given to these people just to shelter, just to transport them, just to put them in a little bit of temporary housings. But then again, the majority of them are living in parks. So how much does it cost?
Them tents very expensive.
Got to be. It's like them $1,200 hammers they were selling the government back in the late 80s. Or the $500 toilet seats that they was putting on airplanes, charging it to the government. $500 for a toilet seat.
That's some invoicing right there. Okay.
What you talking about? So again, when it comes to the governor of New York, when it comes to giving you a grade on handling this migrant situation, I'm gonna have to give you an F. Failed. You didn't do a good job. Didn't do a good job at all. And now I'm knowing that you spent $95 million in COVID relief money, and also the government has given you folks at least just the city of Chicago $1 billion. What y'all doing with this money?
No wonder the Mayor Johnson was saying we got to help these people because he wants their money to continue to come through.
We want that money. We want that money. That's what it's all about, folks. The money. Because listen, if you, I'm sure if we could speak English and ask some of these migrants, did they expect to come here to nothing? I think one clip chart, we might have said that there was one migrant that she said, "Yeah, I'm going back home." Forget this. Shit. On land of the free and home of the what? No, thank you. I'll go back to Mexico. I'll take my chances. Where you going? You can see them, all the migrants coming this way, and ain't but one guy going back that way.
Hey.
But talk to the people a little bit more there, Short, and I'm gonna pull up your conspiracy.
Okay. Well, like I said, it's gonna come to a time because there are people that are gonna talk. That's just the nature of things. And you got even people that are doing research, whether it's for their own channels, if it's for the news. You know, these buses are coming in all times of night and now the suburbs. The suburbs, they don't have a lot of action there. So as soon as a woman or a man, anybody hears something that's out the unusual for them, they're gonna like, wait a minute, the dog barking. They're like, oh no, wait a minute, because they don't have a lot of street lights or anything, or even sidewalks in some of those suburbs. So as soon as they hear something, they're gonna be on the phone, calling the sheriff, the police station. And when you call the police in the suburbs, not just one car come out. It's not a city thing. It's like 10 or 12 cars come out.
Right. Basically, the cavalry comes out, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because they don't have anything to do. So everybody pretty much come out half the darn station. And they're going to see people go talk about it. They're going to record it on their phones. And the news is going to come out. And somebody going to start talking. And so we're going to find out the root of this eventually. We know it's orchestrated, but we're going to find even more.
Right. And Short, that you're absolutely right about that, because here a couple months ago, probably about I would say late summertime, I live on the outskirts. So when you come into to where I live at, there's one road that takes you in. Eventually you gotta either turn back around or whatever. And the guy that was running from the police, he didn't know that. So we had a little impromptu high-speed chase on our road, right? And folks was talking about that since when it happened. You see somebody in the corner store or hanging out somewhere, like, where was you at for the high-speed chase? I was on the porch, nigga.
Yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the word is going to get out. People going to record. People going to talk. We're going to find out more and more.
We're going to find out every week. Right. Some of the stories will be ad-libbed a little bit or embellished on a little bit, but you'll still get to the truth sooner or later.
Right. And when we do, like I said, you're going to start seeing that misinformation thing come up on your YouTube page.
Right, exactly. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about that. They got me last week with a clip like that. I used a clip. I think it might have been on one of our last ones there, Short. I think I told you I had to go back and pull out. I forgot who we used, but I had to go out and take a few minutes off our episode. It stayed live for 3 days, and all of a sudden. Yeah, but anyway, we'll try and temper this. But getting back to you and the conspiracy theory thing, what drives you in the conspiracy theory, Sean?
Because it's a different way of thinking. I think that's what it is. You don't always have to think the same. I mean, everyone is like chocolate and vanilla. What about raspberry? I mean, what about strawberry? Why just got to be just those? So that's kind of me.
I get you. So, folks, now this next clip is full of conspiracy theories, but the truth sometimes is stranger than fiction. Think about this. You have a president of your country telling you, just like back in the old days of the United States, what did they tell the folks? Go west, young man. Seek your fortune out west. Maybe, just maybe, that's what the president and the powers that be in Mexico is telling them. Take your ass to the border. Head for the border. Go seek a better way, a better life in the United States. They got streets is paved with gold over there. Grocery stores on every corner.
24/7.
24/7. All the cerveza you can drink. Clean water. All sources. So imagine if you got the president of your country hyping up another country saying, hey, just go check it out. If you don't like it, come on back.
You're like, okay.
I don't think they're coming back.
Right.
But anyway, folks, let's take a listen to actually the first clip that we used. Shar, this I got this from the same guy. So let's check this out and see what he has to say about what's going over there in Mexico.
Okay.
Hope you guys feel well. I got a message from somebody that was quite shocking yesterday. And basically the guy was like, you know, you guys think you know what's going on with the migrants, you really don't. And let me explain things to you from the perspective from the inside, from Mexico, kind of like what's going on and what we've seen as a community and stuff, what we've seen as a country, what we've seen that you guys don't know because you guys don't get to hear it from your news, your media, stuff like that. You're hearing it directly from the source, somebody that is dealing with it, that currently knows about it, that is living in it. And he says, I'm going to share some information with you, but please don't put my name out there. This information is going to be shocking. And I don't want my name to get out there because in Mexico, you can't speak freely without consequence. Sometimes there are people that will show up and do some things to you because of speaking freely. Here's the email. Hello, sir. Maybe you should do a video to inform about the orchestration behind the migrants. It is intentional, deliberate, and has a sick agenda for both the U.S. and Mexico. It is not the Democrats, nor are these migrants your traditional folks looking for a better life. Although some are, most are being instructed to just demand everything. The minds behind these organized with an agenda migrants lies in Cuba and are all the regimes that have infected with their narco-criminal franchise. You all need to understand who is behind the organized immigrants.
Let me pause that for a minute. And what he said just now, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I can understand that what he's saying is, you know, you got to lend some credence to. Because you remember the picture that he showed earlier? Those guys didn't look like they were worse for wear when they got locked up, did they? I think I might have lost you there, Shar. Are you here? Your mute button's on.
Okay.
Yeah, but those guys, I paused it for a minute. You know, like he was just speaking about, you know, plants, you know, stage actors. Because remember the first clip that they showed, those guys didn't look like they were any worse for wear, did they?
No, most of them don't sometimes, but yeah.
Right. So he might be saying, you know, where I hate to use Trump again, but he said when Trump says they're sending, you know, your murderers, your rapists, and different things like that. But if you go to this conspiracy thing here that we're listening to, no, they're not. They're actually sending people to go over and demand everything from the United States government because they're giving it to you.
Yeah, handing it out like chocolates.
Right. Like somebody cooking hot chicken and they're hanging out hot chicken in the back.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Let's continue. But that does lend some think about it now. What would be, you just heard the folks in Mexico saying that you can't even speak freely.
Right.
The whole country can't speak freely? Well, explain the damn drug cartels.
Psychopath pseudo-president of Mexico, Manuel Andres Lopez Obrador, is the sick narco-funded criminal behind the waves of immigrants making it to the U.S. It is part of his agenda to use social, public instability to further install his Castro Chavismo in Mexico. His invitation is to all from the same countries they control: Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Honduras, and everybody else tagging along, but not Mexicans. How is that? He has invited and welcomed all immigrants into Mexico, promising jobs, citizenship, and money, and openly advertising a free access to the U.S. border. That is right, he is promising entry to the U.S. to all immigrants who wish to make it into the U.S. He tells us he tells them Mexico will not stop you but assist you, and it has been this way since November 2018. The wave after wave of immigrants have been encouraged to come to Mexico. For those who do not make it, his plan has been to make them immigrant voters for his corrupt pseudo-party Morena, a narco-infested entity. His pseudo-fight for human rights is nothing more than a selective move to protect those who will give him his political advantage in the upcoming election. He has abandoned human rights for all Mexicans while only promoting agendas created by them to manipulate public opinion, such that hideous LGTB agenda or feminist movement, which are nothing but decoys to stir up social peace, when in fact he is urinating on every single human right, which includes children suffering from cancer who took away the medications and treatments, accusing false corruption only to loot the money for himself. The waves of immigrants into the U.S. are part of the Cuban, Venezuelan, and Mexican narco regimes to distract and create discredit on the U.S. as a country. They are the sick individuals behind all the immigrants demanding jobs, housing, and food, unlike anything before. It's all intentional. All these people are being given instructions to just demand. Do not give them anything, but denounce Lopez Obrador and send them back to the countries they control through their narco regimes. Kick them out. Wake up, United Statens. This is somebody from within that is seeing this happen, and he's tired of his president treating the people the way that the Mexican president is, and he's using them to launder money. These cartels are using them to launder money to help them to get into these areas. The leaders of these political officials through these countries are encouraging this because they're making money off of this. And Mexico is a huge part of this whole thing that's going on. That's why recently they've said, you know what? We're not going to stop them anymore. We don't have the resources to stop them from coming to the border anymore. So if they go, they go. We're not going to try to stop them. And the cartels are making tons of money off of these people and the government. They're all working together. They know what they're doing.
Well, sure. I would have to say, seems like my man has touched on something. I wouldn't really call this a conspiracy theory. I think this would be something that eventually that will prove to have some merit. Why? If you're there's a show on it might have been on HBO or one of these paid things called Narco. Mm-hmm. It's dealing with the big narco guy. I can't think of his name right now. Not it might have been Chavez or whatever, one of the big narco kings over there. But he had government officials on both sides of the border, United States as well as Mexico. And what they were doing, just like he described, they would bring in other folks from other countries to where they would tell them, you work in the fields for us for a little while, and we'll promise you can take some of your family to the United States. We'll give you free passage all the way up to the border. You get in there, and so again, this is where I disagree with Trump. They're not sending stupid people here. They're sending people that could blend in. They're sending people in that they could put in government places. They got to send clean people here.
There's a mixture. I would say a mixture.
Yeah. But they got to send some clean people here in order. I mean, it's of course the background can be easily checked. But you think you got someone from Mexico? How do you know they're not involved in the drug cartels? Just based on they got a lawyer's degree and they come over here, and after a while, you know, some of our government offices they can't run for, but where it matters, city council, state, local offices, they can run for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Your thoughts on that? Sure.
I can't do anything but agree. I mean, it's we know, like I said, it's definitely orchestrated because it's if you got a mayor having the funds to send or governor having the funds available to send people on a private jet or plane. Do you know what you have to do that? That's not something you just say, hey, there's a runway over there and a jet. It's available. Go get on it. You have to plan that. You have to go through all the steps of the time, because they got to tell you how the altitude, make sure you don't, technically run into traffic in the air. So you doing all of this stuff is planned.
And if you put it like that, and if you look at it in its entirety, you're absolutely right. Everything from the buses to the planes, all this has to be organized at some point in time. There has to be a starting point and an ending point. Well, and in the middle, there's always a liaison. So, okay, the liaison would be from Mexico. We're going to get you from this far to this far. Now, for those of you who say, well, this kind of stuff don't happen, go look up Oliver North and see what he did. Go check out what Oliver North did in the 80s. It's called the Iran-Contra schemes, where they were trading what for what? They were trading drugs and money for armor to arm the Sandinistas. Wow. At the behest of the United States government, because Oliver North was a Marine Corps colonel or somewhere. He was a high-ranking official. So what we just heard is not too far from wrong. If you go through history, not too far from wrong at all.
Yeah, and then I'm always saying, look at their they got a cell phone. I'm always saying that.
Right. When I was looking, sure, I look at some of the clips, and just about every one of them got cell phones. Where they paying the bill at? Metro? Read the talk.
Everybody got a cell phone. Come on,
right.
man.
Everybody got a cell phone, right? They got bomber jackets and cell phones. Sad state of affairs, folks. If you don't believe me, I know we're making light of it, but if you don't believe me, go look at some of this stuff for yourself. Just don't focus on what the reporters are saying. Focus on the people in the background, and you'll see them laying out with the cell phones,
right?
Chopping it up, yakking it, and then getting on the bus with luggage.
Yeah, people look at the faces. Nobody really seems to be sad. They be having conversation.
Right.
Just observe. That's all I say. Just stand back and observe.
Right. It's almost a siesta environment when they get on them buses. Only thing that's missing is a few mariachi bands. That's about it. Serenade them as they get on the bus to their new life.
Okay.
But anyway, Char, we're gonna close up with this. But before we close up on this segment, of course, we'll be back next week with some more. It's not. I meant to bring this clip about the Chinese, but we'll do that on the next one.
Okay.
So it's not only the folks from Mexico, Nicaragua, Honduras, and all that's coming through the southern border. There's Chinese people coming through the southern border also, folks. We're going to touch on that a little bit next week. But one last thing I want to say before we get up out of here. We're all focused on the Puffy Combs, the TD Jakeses, and all the stuff that's going on in the YouTube streets, right? But do you know in the last week, in the last 3 days, that they passed a bill that would gut the Voting Rights Act permanently? That the average citizen could go up to the government and say, hey, this ain't right, and you could sue the government. Now 7 states have passed a bill that the only person that can sue the government as far as voting rights are concerned is the DOJ. And who controls the DOJ? So, but if you got to walk up, hey, Shar, if I walk up to you and say, hey, Shar, can I sue you? What you gonna tell me?
I'm gonna tell you, you ain't gonna get nothing but some lint. That's what I'm gonna tell
Right,
you.
you won't be doing nothing but practicing. But in the other hands, go ahead and sue me. No, you're not going to give me permission to sue you. Am I correct?
No.
No. And that's what they expect us to do if we run into some voter irregularities. We can't go as private citizens and raise issues about that. The first place we got to go is to the Department of Defense and ask them, can we raise objections? Does that make sense?
No, I don't get that.
So, folks, this the reason why I brought that to you. Brought this to the end. Listen, there's more on YouTube that we should be watching. There's more in the news that we should be paying attention to, because this, just like this migrant thing affects us, this statute, this law that these 7 states just put out affects us more, because these folks can't vote yet. We can.
Right.
So with that, we're gonna get on up out of here, Shard. Next week we'll be back to do it all over again. Anybody you want to say hello to or shout out or criticize before we get up out of here?
Just Happy New Year, everyone. Do something good for yourself. Pay attention to your surroundings, because there's a lot going on.
Yes, indeed. I couldn't agree more. Watch your 3, your 6, and your 9 there, ladies and gentlemen, because it's always something going, something that a snap of a finger could change your entire life. So be careful of your surroundings, especially if you're in these areas where these migrants, because we just showed you earlier, crime is definitely going up. They can't talk about us right now. This is not us. This is them. Have a great night, folks. We see you on the next episode of the Chop Shop in the Migrant.
When do we want? When do we want it? Now!